What inning are we in when it comes to a reckoning with women and diversity in the workplace? I mean, is it early days, middle days, end times?
I think it's, you know, I think it's early days. But I think maybe early to middle days, Andy. I think this is so important. And I think you can't just wave a magic wand. There's so many factors, I think, contributing to this imbalance of power that have been entrenched in our society for decades, if not centuries. And so one of the things that I hope we can do is have honest conversations about this. I think that's so imperative. And if my book models that, then that's something I'm really pleased about. Because I think what happens is, there's progress and then there's a backlash. There's progress and then there's a backlash. And I think having open and honest conversations and not, canceling people because they say the wrong thing or not rejecting them out of hand because of the way that they see things, and they're products of their own environments, is a really important component to leveling the playing field for everyone.
You write, of course, we talked about Matt Lauer, or I mentioned him, I should say, in The Problems and Les Moonves. Are men in TV and entertainment worse than other businesses, or is it just that they're more high profile?
It's hard for me to answer that question, Andy, because I haven't really been in other businesses. But having said that, I do think they're more high profile. I think there's probably a little more, it's not exactly a low key or low profile industry. So I think probably the ego level of men in television in general and sort of media is probably feeds into or fed into certain behavior for many, many years. So I think that, I think it was just sort of business as usual. It was sort of the status quo for this kind of behavior. I think it was not only tolerated, but in some cases encouraged in television news. And especially as women were entering that industry in significant numbers. I think we forget that, I graduated from college, Andy, in 1979. And this was when women were really entering the workplace in big numbers. And so it was male dominated for quite a while. Women were in positions that were dependent on their male bosses. So that created a dynamic that just, I think, opened up for a lot of abuses. That, and add to that kind of the culture that existed, a bit of Hollywood. We're going to make you a star. I control your fate. You are subservient to me. And I think that provided a recipe for that kind of really unacceptable behavior.
Did any of them come back, or should they be allowed to come back? We're talking about canceling people and people paying the price.
I think a lot of it depends on your response to the allegations. I think people who recognize, I think James Franco did something very interesting that we haven't seen with a lot of these men who had been, and I think I don't know, we could have a whole conversation of the word canceled. I think they were removed with cause. I think canceled sometimes suggests that a small, a smaller or infraction or whatever was overly penalized. So I think James Franco talked about getting help, acknowledging his issues, and trying to understand the damage that he did. And I think that other people should probably take a page from that playbook and do some serious introspection, and then try to kind of contribute to, be the change that we hope to see, instead of kind of digging in their heels. But, I think with any kind of social movement, there is bound to be some collateral damage.